IIM Lucknow selection criteria. My name is Ashish Chugh. Welcome to our series on Blackie selection criteria. We have already discussed IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore. Now we are going to do IIM Lucknow. Like the previous colleges that we have discussed, the formula to compute the composite score is quite complex in this case as well. But what I will do, I will try to tone it down so that you can understand your profile better and you can gear your expectations accordingly. This is going to be slightly, more lengthy video because there are 3 courses which we are going to talk about. So let's see which course you would like to be part of. All right. So of course, the basic eligibility is CAT 2024 score because you are aiming for admission to the 25 batch. You have to meet the minimum cutoff. You already know that meeting minimum cutoff doesn't mean that you are going to get the shortlist, but it only means that if you do not meet this cutoff, you are definitely not going to be considered for the shortlist. Second thing is academic score. Now in this case, there is an interesting thing. 10th score is not considered. In IIM Lucknow, 10th class score is not considered. 12th is considered, grad marks are considered definitely. And more or less it is the same, 50 for general, 45 for SC, ST, PWD. And then comes this thing, composite score calculation. So which we are going to talk about, of course. Composite score in this case, again, is comprised of scaled CAT score, let's call it A. There is no 10th score. Then there is B, which is the 12th score, then C, graduation score, D, work experience, and then the diversity score. Now, diversity also is of 2 types. One is gender diversity, let me call that E1. And the other one is academic diversity, E2. So, this is quite different from the A and B that we discussed. And third thing, of course, is the criteria fulfillment. Now, there is an interesting thing. Of course, you have to ensure the completion of eligibility by 30th June 2025. You have to do that, which means your all exams should be done by then. Of course, you can submit the results later, but in the document that IIM Lucknow has uploaded, they have not mentioned the deadline of document submission. I have mentioned it here because this is the similar kind of thing that was mentioned for Ahmedabad and Bangalore. So I'm expecting it should not be different for Lucknow. Later on, they will communicate this thing. If there is any change, we are going to change it. But for now, you can keep it. But of course, all the examinations and everything you still have to complete by 30th June 2025. So be aware of these things. Now let's go into the depth of what we have discussed. There are 3 programs. 3 programs that are offered by IIM Lucknow when I talk about the general MBA programs. One, of course, is the flagship PGP program for which you take CAT. And because it is a normal general management program, it of course is designed to develop the professional managers. It's a 2-year program, full-time program. It's a residential program. You have to be on the campus. Which campus? IIM Lucknow campus. Perfect. And what degree you finally get? MBA, Master of Business Administration. The other program is MBA PGP ABM. ABM means Agri Business Management. Why I am talking about 3 programs? The placement of PGP program and ABM program happens together. So it is not like that this is going to be a separate program as far as your placements are concerned. Which means if you do get the opportunity to be part of an ABM program, but you actually wanted to do MBA PGP program, do not think that, oh, it's an agri-based program. Of course, some of the subjects will be there like that, but majority is still similar to that. In a way, you are actually getting better information, more information, but you are getting the same chance as the PGP flagship MBA program. I've had many students in the past who did not get a call from the regular MBA program, but they got the call from ABM, they joined, they're doing wonderfully well in their life. In fact, if you want to go and check the LinkedIn profile of such people, feel free to explore that. Ask them, they all will tell you that do not worry about just the names. As far as ABM and MBA PGP program is concerned. Okay, let me just give you a quick understanding of that as well. Of course, it is designed to develop agri-business leaders, and this is something which is growing in India significantly. In the IIM Lucknow placement report that we discussed a couple of days ago, we talked about an organization called Country Delight, which is a dairy-based organization that has grown significantly well and amazingly fast in last couple of years. They hired a lot of people from IIM Lucknow, and it makes sense, isn't it? Because of the agribusiness program. And why was it part of the placement report of regular MBA program? Because the placements happened together. Samjhe? So important thing is that of course they want to develop agribusiness leaders, and in the world where the organic farming, good food, etc., chemical-free food is being talked about, permaculture and so on. So many terms are there. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know about that. But as far as I could understand, so of course the growth is high, really, really high. So it is no more just the Amul's game or Mother Dairy's game or Vijeta's game. It's a big game. Again, it's also a 2-year full-time residential program, similar. And the degree that you get is, of course, the ABM degree, but that's okay. Now, again, this is also on the Lucknow campus. I hope you got that. The third program is Sustainability Management Program. This happens at the Noida campus. Those of you who do not know Noida, it is the NCR region, which means near to Delhi. Of course, it is part of UP, but this is just adjoining New Delhi. So they have a Noida campus. Everything else more or less is same, but interesting thing is that they require 2-year full-time work experience. If you do not have that, you cannot apply for this. If you apply for that, you basically waste your money. This is the minimum selection criteria, mandatory I would say. And of course, it is designed to develop general management professionals with some social perspective, environmental perspective. So there are some interesting courses that happen here. The courses like lifestyle management, stakeholder management, public policy, etc., social entrepreneurship, various factors that are going to affect the businesses, because businesses are no different from the idea of sustainability nowadays. It's like, say you manufacture something, and if you are creating a lot of waste, it would rather bite you back. So better is that you also think about the environment when you are part of a really big organization, and that is exactly what this program caters to. But yes, the campus is not Lucknow. Let's now take a look at the admission shortlisting criteria. Let me just step aside for a moment just to show you the minimum cutoff. So what I have done, I've taken a screenshot from their PDF file only. Because we are talking about 3 programs, we are going to talk about 3 programs. Every single criteria will be about those 3 programs, and I would recommend that even if you are not interested in all 3 programs, please take a look at MBA and MBA ABM definitely. Okay, don't skip these 2. Of course, this is a specialized one, and if you do not have some penchant towards sustainability management, or if you don't have 2 years of experience, this doesn't concern you. MBA. So these are the minimum cutoff requirements. Again, on paper, the minimum cutoff requirement here is higher as compared to Ahmedabad and Bangalore that we have seen. But that in reality, these are just the cutoffs. Actual scores are of course higher, which you need. But if you do not meet them, as according to the category which is mentioned, then you are not even considered for shortlisting. So this is about the CAT score. Now, this is where I would want your absolute attention. Throw your phones away, not the phone on which you are currently accessing it, but everything else away. Just take a look at this. Let's calculate the composite score, A plus B plus C plus D plus E. E, you already know that one is E1, the other one is E2, because there are 2 types of diversity scores. Let's start with A. A is scaled CAT score. This is easy. This is easy. Scaled CAT score is nothing but your CAT score divided by the highest CAT score of 2024 into 60, because the weightage is 60% in all 3 types of MBA programs. This is fairly easy to be part of your composite score. What is not fairly easy is this. Scaled 12th score. We already have established that 10th class score is not considered in IIM Lucknow. What is the 12th weightage? For MBA 10, MBA ABM 10, SM also 10. How do you calculate that? This is the formula. Now, interesting thing is this. Dhyan se sunna. Candidates class 12th percentile. You don't get a percentile in class 12. What do I mean by that? Why are they taking class 12th percentile? Candidates class 12th percentile computed based on CAT applicants' pooled data of the past 5 years for the respective boards and disciplines. Which means in the last 5 years, whatever data they have captured, on that basis they calculate your percentile first. Let me give you an interesting insight. Let's say you get, say, 90% marks in 10th class. Many people are getting some 90, some 95, some 80, 85 and so on. So they see that how many people have gotten 95%, how many people have gotten 90%, how many people have gotten 85% and so on. On that basis, they calculate a percentile for you. They use that percentile as P, and they pick up which is the maximum, 80 or the percentile that you have. Now, what is an interesting thing here for you to note? If your score in class 12th is less, but the overall score of the pooled data is slightly on a higher side, then your percentile will fall because more number of people will be ahead of you and your score will be 80. But if your score is really high in class 12, which means your percentile is high and the median score or the more number of people are behind you, then it will be P, which means the higher the score, the better is your chance. In last 5, 6, in fact 10 years, what I have seen that the overall scores are really growing. Earlier it was not very easy to secure 90% marks, for example, but now it is easier to secure 90% marks as compared to say 5, 10 years ago. This is what I have observed, right? When I talk about the people who apply here, because you are talking about the pooled data that they have, it is not about the entire country's data. And on what basis they are going to use that pooled data, they have not mentioned that. So interesting and important thing is that 12th class score matters, but the weightage is 10. So if your CAT score is really high, but here there is some problem, you still stand the chance. All right, so let's see an illustration. Let's say your 12th class score was 90%. We discussed that cursorily, and let's say you fall in top 15% of the scorers last 5 years. All these things are assumptions I have made. Okay, this is your score. Let's say this is the percentile. So if you fall in top 15%, then your percentile P is 85, which means your result score is 2.5. Okay, you can always pause the video and see how that came up. Again, I use my friend ChatGPT to do all these calculations because come on. So result score is 2.5. Acha. Now, if your 12th score is 95% and not 90%, and say because of that you fall in top 10% of the people, which means your percentile is 90, then your result score is 5. I want your attention here. Just because of this percentile calculation, your score became 5 instead of 2.5, which means double the jump. Okay, so it is all dependent on where you are falling in that pool. So those who have great score, it's even better. And when you want to mentor somebody, tell your mentees later on that they should work really hard in 10th and 12th class. Chalo, let's go further. Rating score C, which is scaled graduation score. Again, the weightage is 10, 10, 10. Now combined weightage, if I talk about the academic scores, is high because it is 20 graduation plus 12th class score. Chalo, so this is this formula, another complex formula, but what is the meaning of it? Let me just give you a quick understanding of it. Marks will be amended to take values between 0 and 10. Mu is the mean and sigma is the standard deviation of the respective academic disciplines. Okay, let's see an illustration. If your grad score is 75, I want you to pay absolute attention on these. If your grad score is 75%, and say you are from engineering background, I have made some fair assumptions. Let's say your background is engineering, so mean is let's say 70 and standard deviation is 10. So if there is a discipline from which more number of people are coming, then of course the spread is higher, na? That's why I have taken a higher standard deviation, which is 10. And the score that you finally get is 5.83. If your grad score is 75, everything else remains the same. Mu is also 70, but now you are not from engineering background, you are say from humanities background, arts background. I am going to reduce the standard deviation in this case because the spread will be limited. Then your score will be 6.67. So you can see that with the same score, just the change in academic discipline would affect a corresponding change in standard deviation and would eventually give you a different score out of 10. right? So this is also an important metric. Now, what is the standard deviation for all the disciplines? That is not mentioned in the document that IIM Lucknow has uploaded. So that's why I've taken some fair assumptions just to give you a perspective. That doesn't mean that if you are an engineer, then you are in doom. No, 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 it's not like that. But of course, they also have to ensure some sort of academic diversity. So they would want to, get good people from across the disciplines. Okay. Let's now talk about WorkX score, which is rating score D. For MBA, it is 10. ABM, whatever work experience you have, makes no sense because they do not give any weightage to work experience here. MBA SM again is 10, but for this, as we already have discussed, that you should have a minimum work experience of 24 months. If it is not, then you are not eligible to apply for MBA Sustainability Management Program. And these are the formulas. So if your X, which means number of completed months of work experience as of July 31st, 2024, if it is more than 6, then this is going to be the score. And in this case, of course, it has to be greater than or equal to 24, then this formula will be applied, right? So of course, illustration is not needed. You can very well use this thing for yourself. Just plug the value of X somewhere and see. Okay, that's all. Then let's talk about the diversity score. We are now going to talk about E1, academic diversity, scaled academic diversity score. Now, for MBA, if you are a non-engineer, 5. If you are applying for MBA Agribusiness Management, then 20 is the maximum score that you can get. This is not 2 and 0, this is 20. 20 is the maximum score that you can get, and it is dependent on the academic diversity score that is mentioned in table 3. I'll show you that table. And if you're aiming for an MBA in Sustainability Management, then if you're a non-engineer, then you get 5. So here are the academic disciplines, by the way. If you want, you can pause the video. You can just check that if you're falling within these academic disciplines, then so and so. Now, let's now talk about the next thing. If you are an engineer, then you do not get academic diversity weightage. So if you are an engineer, no academic diversity weightage. And if you are an engineer, and if the standard deviation is higher, then graduation score will also be scaled down, which means CAT has a important, really big role. A CAT score has a big role to play in your composite score calculation because 60% was the weightage. Just be aware of that. So engineering 0, and if other than the table 3 that I showed you, if you are falling in any other discipline which is not given in table 3, then you get a 0 for ABM score as well. And again, if you're an engineer, you get a 0 score for MBA Sustainability Management Program also. Chaliye. So for this also, of course, no illustration is needed. Very simple. Let's now talk about gender diversity score. This should be easy. If you are a female, 5 for all the 3 types of courses. And if you are not a female, then 0 for all 3 types of courses. And when you combine them, of course, you get the final score. Now, here is something important for you. When you want to talk about MBA ABM and MBA SM, this does not happen only with the CAT score. Means this does not only happen with the CAT form that you have filled. You have to fill up a separate special MBA ABM MBA SM form, which mandatorily by stipulated deadline. They have not mentioned the deadline so far. So whenever that comes up, we are going to intimate you on the respective channels. But be aware of that. And again, I'm just reiterating, please, those of you are aiming for MBA flagship, definitely aim for this also. Later on, whether you want to join it or not, that's a different story. But don't miss out on this. Okay, so what's the admission process? Again, it's a twofold thing. First is shortlisting stage. We have computed the composite score. Of course, the weightage is different, so I have not written the weightage here because it is dependent on what course you are aiming for. But these are the things, elements which are going to be part of that. And the second thing, of course, is the stage 2, which is the final selection. And this again is going to be the set of element. Of course, PI and VAT will be added to this, which means personal interview and writing ability test. And that's why I showed you this table. When you want to compute the composite score after the VAT PI stage, then these are the weights, which means your CAT score will still be higher. 30-35% is quite a good score still. And followed by that, this is going to be of pivotal importance. Personal interview 40%. Arey bhai. So you got to prepare for that as well, which means you should know everything in and out, what is mentioned in your profile, whatever you are going to mention in the part B of their form when you get the shortlist. We'll talk about all these things later on. But yeah, this was the thing, and then you get the admission letter. So what are the major focus areas? Graduation score. If you are currently in graduation, definitely you should focus on that. CAT score, definitely you should focus on that. PI preparation 101%. And there is one thing which is unique to IIM Lucknow. There is a minimum PI passing marks. Minimum PI passing marks are required. So it's not like they are going to just take 40% of your passing marks. No, 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 no. You do everything wonderfully. But if you do not score minimum 12 marks in PI, then you are out of the process, even if you have scored hundreds in everything else. So there are so many checkpoints that you have to cross mandatorily when it comes to IIM Lucknow. But if I have to be very specific, I would say CAT and PI preparation would be of pivotal importance. And that's all for IIM Lucknow eligibility criteria.